Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this festive episode of the Book Barn Book Club podcast. I'm Lasha.
And I'm Lanie, and today we're joined by our special guest, Amy.
We're so glad you're here, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
So at one of our recent book club meetings, we asked each member to drop the name of a Christmas book into a Christmas mailbox. And we drew one title to be our November read for our December book discussion.
And Amy's book was chosen, and she's here today at the Book Barn to help us talk about it. So Amy, what was your book?
My book was One Day in December by Josie Silver.
Before we dive into this book, we have a few fun questions to ask you. It's the holiday season, so we're keeping things festive around here. First up, do you have a favorite holiday movie or TV special that you tend to watch over and over?
During the Christmas time, I watch a lot of Christmas movies because I love Christmas. I watch Home Alone, Home Alone 2. Those were two that I grew up on, so I watch them quite frequently. And then Elf and Christmas Vacation, of course.
All good choices.
Yep. Fun.
What about you, Lasha?
I'm a big Hallmark movie guy.
That's okay.
So I got that Hallmark channel going quite a bit. And my oldest granddaughter's 4 years old right now. And I just thought I need to introduce her to Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Oh, yes.
I think she would find it hilarious or, be really intrigued by it. So that's one I remember watching when I was a kid.
Yep, me too. Well, as a family, we love The Christmas Story. We watch that every year.
Nice.
So that's our fave. So the next question, what's the best way to spend Christmas Eve in your opinion?
For Christmas Eve, we typically have my in-laws' Christmas. So that is typically what we do.
I'm an empty nester, so no kids at home. We might drive around and look at Christmas lights if we haven't done that already. We've done that for a few years on Christmas Eve.
So your boys live near you.
They do. Yeah.
My boys do not. And so I get my whole family at Christmas time. They stay with me. And so Christmas Eve, we all go to Christmas Eve Mass. And then we get back home and put the kids to bed. And then the adults just have a lovely time. So it's one of my favorite times of the year.
Sounds wonderful. Now here's a tricky one. We don't want you giving away any surprises, but who is the toughest person you have to buy for?
I would say typically it's my children, but we started 3 years ago vacationing for Christmas. So instead of buying gifts, which I still do, like stocking stuffers, but we go somewhere on vacation. But like even stockings, I feel like sometimes it's hard to come up with.
Especially
good things and useful.
Yeah, especially grown children or older children. Yeah, they're just tough.
It is tough. Yeah. I think my husband's hard to buy for. If he wants something, he buys it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to get him. Okay. Does your family have any funny or unique Christmas traditions?
I cannot really think of any. We used to go to like the movies on Christmas Day because we never had any family things going on Christmas evening. It was always for lunch. So I'd say that was probably one. That was fun.
How about you?
Not really. It's all pretty typical.
Okay.
Family, eat, visit.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
We started several years ago. Mike and I buy our boys not matching, but similar T-shirts for Christmas. Sometimes they're very dorky and sometimes they're kind of cool and they're just different enough. But the boys wear them on Christmas Day and then we always get pictures. It's kind of a tradition. Kind of fun.
All right, Amy, do you have a favorite book?
I have been thinking about this and I cannot really think of just a book that would be my absolute favorite.
So do you have a favorite author?
The one that I consistently have read throughout the years would be Nicholas Sparks.
I love him.
I also like Anne Rule, like the book she did over Bundy, and then like the Green River Killer, because I kind of like those kind of books too. So lots of different genres.
Good choice.
So is there anything else exciting going on in your world, Amy, that you would like to share with us?
I am currently, in the next couple months, going to do a career change. So going from a nursing director to a part owner of a gym. So that'll be different. And then also be welcoming our second grandbaby mid-year.
That's always exciting.
So we all have grandbabies on the way.
Oh, we do.
That's fun.
Awesome. I have one coming in January, end of January now. And when's yours coming?
April, the end of April.
End of
And
April.
then the end of June, I believe.
Exciting.
So still pretty fresh.
Yeah, very exciting. So let's go ahead and talk about this book, One Day in December. So to start off, one of our book club members said that it wasn't a Christmas book. What are your thoughts on that, Amy?
I also found that it wasn't super Christmassy. Besides that, the name, and yes, talking about every December and then New Year's resolutions. But besides that, I felt like it wasn't really about Christmas.
I agree with that. I thought, it didn't have a really true Christmassy feel to it. More New Year's resolutions, like you said, because she had that at the beginning of each chapter. But, I mean, it's December when the book starts, and Christmas parties go on throughout the book. But I did like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought it was good.
Oh, I loved it. I did. Well, one of my favorite parts is when the main character, Laurie, sees Jack through the window of a bus during a snowy December day. And she knows instantly that he's the one. So let's share a bit of that magic with our listeners. So here's a quote from the book. He's not film star good looking or classically perfect, but there is an air of preppy deceivableness and an earnest, who me? Charm about him that captivates me. I can't quite make out the color of his eyes from here. Green, I'd say, or blue, maybe. From now on, if anyone asks me if I've ever fallen in love at first sight, I shall say yes for one glorious minute on December 21st, 2008. And Laurie searches for Jack, that man, for a long time after that.
That she does. And she has the help of her best friend, Sarah. Josie and Sarah are also roommates. So let's look at their friendship. Laurie acknowledges that they are very different, but they share exactly enough middle ground to make it work. So Laurie says that Sarah is the Thelma to her Louise.
Oh, who is your Thelma to your Louise, Amy?
My best friend, Ashley, we grew, high school together. And then, I'm her kiddo's godmother. She has 6, so nothing better happened to her. So we've always joked about that, Thelma and Louise. We actually have shirts that one says Thelma, one says Louise, so that's fun.
That is very fun.
It is. Yeah. You know what? I have never watched that movie.
Oh, we should do that.
Classic.
I've seen clips of it, but I've not watched it all the way through. Thelma and Louise, I have not. So,
well, going back to Laurie and Sarah.
Yeah.
Best friends.
Yeah. Well, Laurie does finally see Jack again at a Christmas party when Sarah introduces him as her boyfriend.
Oh, boy. Which this is the perfect time for me to read the paragraph that I chose from this book. We like to do that.
We do.
So here it goes. I open my mouth to say hello, and then I see his face. My heart jumps into my throat, and I feel as if someone just laid electrical shock pads on my chest and turned them on up full fry. I can't get any words to leave my lips. I know him. And then it goes on to say, green. His eyes are green. Tree moss around the iris edges. Warm amber gold seeping in around his pupils. but it's not the color of his eyes that strikes me so much as the look in them right now as he gazes down at me. A startled flash of recognition, a dizzying, headlong collision, and then it's gone in a heartbeat, leaving me unsure if the sheer force of my own longing made me imagine it had been there at all.
Ooh. Yeah, so I was expecting that, you know. Sarah kept talking about her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, and I kind of felt like that was going to happen. But man, that was such a tense moment, huh? And I felt bad for Laurie. I mean, she faced quite a dilemma. Amy, do you believe in love at first sight?
I would have to say I've never witnessed that, but I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I feel like it may be possible.
Yeah.
I feel like love at first sight, you think more of a physical attraction, and obviously relationships are more than the physical attraction. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I feel like you can have a sense of connection right there, but until you're around someone and know their personality, and, you know, love has to grow and blossom. So I don't know if I could do love at first sight. I could agree with that, but
I think I agree with both of you. I do. So, Lasha, did you have a paragraph?
oh, you betcha.
All right.
And I feel like I should be reading it in my best British accent.
Ooh.
Right? Okay, no, I won't. I'll spare you with that. But so my paragraph is from 2010. The year is the actual chapter, right? Is that how it was broken up? I mean, there was the year, and then there were days.
Right.
So maybe subchapters? I don't know. Anyway, this one is from February 15th in the year 2010. So I got to set the stage a little bit here. Jack and Sarah had gone out on a Valentine's date, but they came back early because Sarah had had way too much champagne. By the way, I have to say, their poor livers.
Oh, no kidding.
Lots of drinking.
There was lots of drinking. Yeah. So anyway, Laurie is surprised to see them back because she thought she was going to have the whole evening to herself. Sarah passes out in bed, and Jack sticks around and watches a movie with Laurie, and they end up in some deep conversation. And this is the next morning. It's on page 68. I remember last night clearly now. I didn't do anything morally wrong with Jack, nothing that I need to feel compromised over in the traditional sense this morning, at least. I definitely didn't show him my boobs or confess true love. Yet, still, I can't let myself totally off the hook because in truth, I did cross a line, albeit a fine, almost invisible one. I can clearly feel it tangled around my ankles like fishing wire, ready to trip me up and make a liar out of me. I let myself get too close. All it took was a cheap bottle of wine to lower my guard, for one unwittingly misjudged comment to make me crumble like an abandoned sandcastle when the evening tide comes in.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The minute you started talking, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk more about Laurie. Didn't they compare her? I don't know if it was Jack that compared her. I think it was to Elizabeth Taylor. Did he say she had that kind of hair?
I do remember somebody
Something like that. Yes. She's an interesting character. So she's loving, she's caring, and she has this amazing bond with her best friend, Sarah. But when it comes to Jack, she doesn't speak up.
She doesn't.
Did she do the right thing by keeping quiet about him? What do you think?
I feel like situations like that would be like a no-win situation.
Right.
So, like, if she would have pulled her aside or even told her later on that night, like, they're already in a relationship. So it isn't like Sarah and him just met. Like, they were
In a
involved.
relationship.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I
So-
think, didn't even Sarah say, I could see him being the
one.
one?
Yes.
So
yes.
how do you tell your best friend that, no, this is the guy I've been longing for this whole year? Yeah.
It's such a tough call. I understand why she stayed silent. It's the balance between friendship and romance. But at the same time, you can't help but wish she would have spoken up earlier. The whole book, I was like, I want them to get together. So it's heartbreaking to see her struggle for so long.
Exactly. So Amy, Lanie, and I like to pick a word that sums up our feelings about the book. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have a word, one word that you would use to describe this book?
I don't.
That's okay. That's all right.
It's okay.
It took me a bit. What's your word, Lanie?
My word is longing. There's this deep yearning throughout the book, from Laurie's unspoken feelings to the way the characters grow and change over the years. What about you?
Well, longing, that's a good one. I don't know. It's a little bit suspenseful. I mean, not in the way of like a thriller or a suspense novel, but actually I think my word would be tense.
Oh, yes.
Lots of tension.
I agree with that.
I do too.
And alcohol. That was another word.
Yeah. So wine and champagne.
Yes.
Cheers!
We do have to mention the writing style of the author too. I love the way she described things. Like at one point she was talking about a building and she said it was a tired building with glamorous bones. I love that. It was such a vivid image that kind of sticks with you.
Oh, I agree. I thought she had a very descriptive writing style, like the paragraph that I read. She described the line that Laurie didn't want to cross as a fishing wire around her ankles, ready to trip her up. And then her guard crumbling like an abandoned sandcastle. So, another one I had written down, a line that I liked. I'm sickly nervous every time the phone rings, and there's a permanent cesspool of fear sloshing around at the base of my stomach.
Pretty good.
Pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I thought it was very well written.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about Oscar.
Oh, hey, first, I think it's probably a good time for our spoiler alert. If you haven't read this book yet and plan to, you might want to stop now.
Agree.
Okay.
So Oscar.
Well, actually, I want to go back to Jack.
Okay, let's go back to Jack.
Yeah, let's go back to Jack. What did you think about him?
At times, I thought he was like awesome. And then at other times, I thought he was kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously did have a connection and cared about Laurie. And
Yes.
and then when they were apart and he was with other girls and women and just the way he acted towards them and with them and
And the way he treated after her or his accident and everything like that. And
Yeah.
she tried to go in and help him out, get his mind straight and stuff. He was a pretty big jerk.
He was a jerk to Laurie, actually,
Yes.
at that point.
Yep.
So I guess he wasn't always good to her.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, Oscar.
So I felt bad for Oscar. Oscar marries Laurie. Mm-hmm. And he seems like such a pretty good guy.
Mm-hmm. I do think he was a good guy.
Yes.
I agree, just a workaholic.
Yeah, workaholic.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he was the same man that she fell in love with. Because were they in Thailand?
In Thailand.
Oh my goodness.
so
I
he-
wanted to go there. It
Oh.
sounded amazing.
Her descriptive writings of it. Yes. But they had those leisurely, beautiful, relaxed days where they just fell in love with each other and they could spend time together. And then they come back to the real world or, his job and the city, and things are just different. And like you said, Amy, he's a workaholic and his job came first.
And a mama's boy.
And a mama's
And
boy.
they came
and
from a little bit of different backgrounds.
Yes.
yeah. And mama didn't like Laurie.
No.
They married and then they were drifting apart and they had that plan to have a baby. You knew right away that that was a bad idea. So I was really glad that that didn't happen. But I did feel sorry for Oscar because I do think he really loved her. But I felt like he was also going to be okay without her.
I agree. And I do feel like Laurie did love Oscar, but differently. I think she'd already given her heart away.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jack was still in her life. Well,
Kind of.
Kind of. I mean, she knew where he was the times, even though they weren't talking a whole lot.
I just longed for Laurie and Jack to have their happily ever after. But I did feel bad for Oscar.
I know they got married, and I think if he would have chose to stay in London,
She would have been in it.
Would have been fine.
I agree.
But spending half the week away and not really having that connection.
Yeah. And then his ex-girlfriend, she kept trying to wiggle her way back into his life, which she was in his life because she worked with him. Right. That's why I also felt like he was probably going to be okay, because probably something would happen there. You don't know, but that's the thing about fiction. You know, you can write your own storylines.
You really can.
Yeah, you can keep going with the sequels in your head, right?
So, Amy, would you recommend One Day in December to other readers?
I would. I thought it was a good book. Even though we read it for Christmas, I feel like it'd be a good book to read anytime.
I agree.
I thought it was good.
I had kind of a tough month personally, and it was kind of nice to get lost in it. It really was. I enjoyed it.
And have a happy ending.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree. So I thought maybe I would talk about another Christmas book that I had read, and just keeping in this Christmas theme. It's called Rewriting Christmas, A Hopeful Tale by Anne Stang. And this is actually the book that I dropped in the mailbox for our drawing. And even though it didn't get picked out, I decided I would read it anyway. It had really good ratings, a 4+ on both Goodreads and Amazon. And so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. Here's a little summary first. Libby is going to have the best Christmas ever, no matter what, even if she has only her dog, Ginger, to help her bake, decorate, and eat every gingerbread man. What good are trees, twinkle lights, and candy canes with no family around to help her celebrate the birth of the Savior? While adding the finishing touches to her 19th century inn for the Christmas time grand opening, she discovers more than cobwebs and antiques. Clues to an ancestor's past appear along with a handsome, mysterious stranger. How is he connected to her inn, and why is he really there? So something that I found interesting is it's set in the Ozarks, and it highlights a bit of the Bald Knobber's history.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it was a cozy mystery and a love story, all wrapped up in 170 pages.
Nice.
Yep.
Short.
Yep. With a sweet holiday theme. Yeah. So it was a fast read. It was easy. And I'd recommend it. I thought it was really good. It's also part of a series. It's a standalone, though, but the series is Celebrate the Season with a Mystery, and it was book 1. I looked up the other 2 titles, and they both have great ratings and are short also.
You texted me and said it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just so fast, too. 170 pages, so I thought it was really good.
Awesome. I also tried to read the book that I put into the mailbox. I started Mary Kay Andrews' Bright Lights, Big Christmas. I thought I would like it. It was set in New York City. It was about a family that sells Christmas trees, and they were from North Carolina, I believe, but then they went to New York City to sell them. And it just never would hook me. I was a third of the way in, and I abandoned it. Oh, yeah. So it gets great ratings. So it must be a good book, but I just didn't finish.
Yeah. And you had some stuff going on, like you said, in your life. So
very true.
Maybe you just
didn't give it a good enough shot.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing it with us, though.
You bet.
All right. Well, I think that is it for today's discussion. Amy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you in the Book Barn.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it inspired you to pick up One Day in December or any other book that'll warm your heart this holiday season.
Also, we must mention this will be our last episode of 2024. So use the next few weeks to catch up on past episodes and join us again in January. We'll be sharing our thoughts on our current book club book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Until then, I'm Lasha.
I'm Lanie.
And I'm Amy.
Happy reading, everyone, and keep those bookmarks busy.